years now. Thank you, Aaron. Fantastic. Recording is in progress. All that first pieces of information aren't necessarily important to those watching the video. Again, so 22-year PGA member. I have been with Golf Genius for 8 years. And as Aaron mentioned, I started off on the support team where I would answer those help tickets that got submitted by those facilities around the country and around the world. And then for the last 6 years, I've worked as the account manager for the Northwest, where I assist the 10 states in the northwestern part of the United States, as well as the 4 Canadian provinces. So my area is large, however, probably about the same amount of golf courses that are in the state of Florida. So huge region, but obviously because where we live and why we live here for open spaces, there certainly is some distance in between golf courses. I have worked at multiple facilities, so those of you who are on the call who are golf professionals, or those of you who have worked at a facility, certainly know what you go through on a day-to-day basis via outside services, working as an assistant professional, or if you are the head professional at your facility. Certainly know that tournament management isn't the only thing that you do. So hopefully with Golf Genius, we are going to make you more efficient within the tournament management platform so that you do have the ability to perform some of your other tasks. Again, those of you who are possibly a volunteer for your league or for some of your events, again, we're hopefully going to give you the tools to make your job more efficient so that your regular job that you know earn income for, you can still focus on that and hopefully still utilize Golf Genius and the tournament management platform to operate your leagues or your events efficiently. Uh, the help tab. Again, this is a great area to gain knowledge, gain experience, and then possibly interact with our support team to give you assistance when necessary. We'll go into this once we get into the platform itself, but within our help tab, it's on every manager's screen on the right-hand side in a big orange help option. If you click on that help tab, we have a number of different options available where we will give you the suggested articles based off of where you are in the program at that time. Additionally, you can access our knowledge base that has, we're about up to 1,200 knowledge base articles, maybe 100 videos and or webinars that you can view to help to understand and comprehend the platform. We do have live training that is available on a weekly basis. So if you want to attend some live in-person webinars that has time for Q&A afterwards, we certainly have a live training feature as well for you. And then the Contact Us feature is certainly a resource that most of you have used or will use in the future, which gives you immediate access to one of our customer support representatives. Those representatives are on 24/7, 365. So if it's 6 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, if you have a question or scenario regarding your event setup or your league setup, you can certainly contact the customer support representatives team. They will be able to access your account at that particular page that you're on and work through within an internet conversation to try and remedy the situation that you're being presented with. Obviously, more information is better. You know, don't just go to contact us and be like, I need some help, because we are going to need some information to try and diagnose the scenario. So once we get into the platform where you see the help tab, obviously we'll try and put in as much information as we can so that the support representatives can start to diagnose the scenario before we begin that interaction. Speaking on Golf Hub, it's about 2 years old now. It is a way that we can utilize either digital flyers to promote events, to display event details, possibly add registration and or add registration with payments. This being an introductory class, there may be some of you who are on the TM Premium platform. That does allow for a registration option and or registration with payments. where we can ask custom field questions to obtain information from our players through the premium platform. However, those of you who are on TM Club, which I will mention is a member benefit that the CGA is providing to you as a member benefit. So certainly we appreciate the CGA and we appreciate your relationship with the CGA to allow you use of the TM Club platform with Golf Genius. If you are on the TM Club platform and you want to use registration for your events and your leagues, Golf Hub gives you the ability to do so, where we build out a registration form. Maybe it's free. Maybe we attach a Stripe account, which is our third-party integration partner that we work with to accept credit card payments. We can certainly utilize the Golf Hub functionality to build out a roster via a registration form. Another benefit of Golf Hub is that the CGA has an aggregated hub that is embedded in their website. So if you were to create an event using Golf Hub, you can let the software know, hey, I want this particular hub page to be published to the CGA's aggregated hub. And then if you were to go to the CGA website, view their aggregated hub, you would be able to see all of the inventory of events that are available within the state of Colorado. Again, this is more to try and promote participation for your league, for your outings, for your club events through the member benefit that the CGA is offering to you with the use of TM Club. So we'll look at this a little bit more just to show you how the functionality of Golf Hub will work and hopefully be a benefit to you at your facility. The Customer Center. Again, for those of you who are customer managers, meaning you have access to the entire platform, will have access to the Customer Center. Now, some of you may only be given League Manager access, which only gives you access to your specific event or league. So the Customer Center is something that may not be visible to you, but I certainly feel like I need to at least present a few minutes on the Customer Center for those of you who are designated as a customer manager. Again, if you feel like you're a league manager and you need access to the Customer Center, you can certainly reach out to the professional staff at your facility and possibly request that they make you a customer manager so that you do have access to the Customer Center. The only scenario with that is you have access to all other events. So certainly as a safeguard, we would ask that if you are a customer manager, not to enter into other events that you're not a part of or you don't control, so that there isn't a mistake made or something that would, cause them to limit your customer manager access.
Hey, Justin, before you get going on Customer Center, we have Kim who has a question for you.
So I
Kim,
had a
if you would like to
question.
unmute yourself.
Oh,
Yep.
Sorry.
Perfect.
I think I did.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. Back to the Golf Hub. So I don't know, obviously, the other people on the call. I'm a very we just have a club. We play at a City of Denver course. We don't advertise anything outside of our 80 members. That's it. So a lot of times, so this is the second time I think I've sat through your presentation. There's so many things that do not apply to us. Golf Hub, I presume, does not apply to me, correct? I would have no need
if you are
not advertising outside of my group of 80 ladies.
Then probably not. No, ma'am. Golf Hub would be something that you would not present because you are working within a particular subset of players.
Okay. All right. So I can just forget about Golf Hub. Thank you.
You can certainly forget about it, or there may be a time where it may be of use. But if when I'm presenting on the Golf Hub, if you want to, perform another task, you're certainly available to do that. But for the other people on the call, it will be a discussion that is presented in this webinar.
But no, absolutely. But I think what happens is we have just a very finite group of things maybe some people use, and then it just expands and expands and expands based on, what your role is and what type of club you are that have access to Golf Genius.
Correct.
All right, that's it for now, Justin.
Okay, so within the customer center, again, if you are a customer manager, we have a number of settings across the top that we will get into and expand on this. The screenshot's a little small, but we will control different things regarding a master roster, which is the players that play at your facility most often. There are some customer settings that we will look at regarding course details or default settings or your default portal that gets built when you create a new league or event. We have the ability to build out directories, and I will focus on some premium features today, just in case there are some premium users on the call, or if that upgrade may be of interest to you. We can build out different registration functionalities within the customer setting as well. Season management tab will briefly focus in on that. That may have the ability to build out a season points list if we need to utilize that for different events or leagues. So we'll look briefly at the customer center again. Don't want to spend too much time on it, but feel like it is a necessary focus for those of you who are customer managers. And then once we get into the event creation itself, which is probably what everyone is most interested to see as to how we build out an event. And there are some ways that we will chronologically perform an event creation where we will need to build out some sort of event or league roster. We will need to update indexes from GIN at a particular point in time. We will need to add rounds, create pairings, build your tournaments, generate printed materials, both scorecards, cart signs, alpha lists, proximity signs, everything that we need to do before the event actually takes place. Obviously, entering in scores will be a way that we can calculate those results. And obviously, we would display the we would obviously we would always obviously display those results in a handful of ways, either printing them out via PDF, possibly via portal presentation, or within a TV display. And after the fact, we can certainly post those scores to GIN if that is what you are letting your golfers know that you would do at the end of an event. So we'll work through all of these. That's not to say that you don't go back and forth into some of these areas. If you need to make any changes, maybe we build a tournament that isn't compatible or we change the tournament format, we can always go back and make edits to any of these bullet points on the left-hand side. And then you may have your own way of navigating these different options. But based off of what I've seen and what I've done in the past, the chronological order of what I've populated here seems to work best for me. Some other players or some other professionals, it works for them, but that's not to say that you may not perform these functions in a different order. And then we'll follow it up again, as I mentioned, with any questions at the end. So give me one moment here. I'm going to move over into my Golf Genius account. So those of you who are customer managers, again, when you log into your account, you are going to see the customer center. We have events and categories underneath in your dashboard of all of your events and your leagues that you are going to conduct on an annual basis. And we'll talk about building seasons here in the future so that you can differentiate and determine where things are within your customer center. Again, under the master roster, these are going to be the players that play at your facility most often. And those of you who are member clubs of the CGA, we have your member club number embedded in your account so that periodically from time to time, you will want to refresh your master roster from GIN. And what that will do is that will bring in players who have a newly activated GIN subscription at your facility. And also we will recognize golfers who are active or inactive in GIN. I know a lot of facilities will make everyone inactive over the non-posting season so that they can resubscribe with their gin subscription. If I were to view my master roster, I could certainly view who may or may not be active in gin. And we can certainly use that to allow or disallow golfers to play in a particular event if they are inactive in gin. You need to have an active gin in order to have an index update or to be able to play in this league. We can certainly look at that criteria to determine if golfers can participate in a particular league. So the master roster, again, are those players that are at your facility most often. Not to say that you can't add players manually or upload additional players from a spreadsheet if we need other players outside of your gin roster in your master roster. We can communicate via email, or if you are on the premium platform, we can communicate via text message. Unfortunately, Gin does not push over a mobile number. That's the one thing that they do not push over in the Gin sync. So if we needed to add mobile numbers to the master roster, we would have to add a custom field and manually enter in those mobile numbers if we wanted to communicate via text message to these players. Your customer settings tab, a lot of information in here. Not going to go into detail on all of these. But the ones that you want to pay most attention to would be your default league and event member portal. This again is what is built by default. And when you create a new league or event, we will utilize this portal to display information to your players. So again, if I went to any of your websites, I guarantee it's not a blank page with just some text and information. There is probably a nice banner. There's probably some photos. There's probably some imagery on your website. So we certainly give you the ability to build out a default portal that can be presented to your membership in an attractive fashion. If you have not built out your default portal, you would certainly want to add in logos, banners, and backgrounds so we can use that imagery to build out your default portal. Not to say that in an event by event or league by league basis, these portal images can be edited. Your course details, again, and these are if you are a league manager and you go into your account and you notice that you may have a course that is non-compliant, we are going to want to re-import that course into your account via the USGA course rating directory. Now, if you do see that at some point in time your course becomes non-compliant, either yourself or your professional staff would want to give the appropriate information to the CGA so that they can update your course in their database so that when we do re-upload that course from the CGA, it becomes WHS compliant. And the reason for compliancy is that hole by hole scores can be posted to GIN. Also, the playing course conditions calculation can be made if a course is playing easier or more difficult on any given day. So certainly this would be something that you would want to make sure that your course is compliant. My account has a number of courses. If you take your memberships to other facilities, you can certainly upload as many courses into your course details as possible. And then the one quick thing to check here, you may want to edit your course details. You can do this as a league manager in your account, where maybe you need an abbreviation, tee time intervals, green depths, pace of play, parameters, and possibly color coding your tees that would appear on different pieces of printed material. So your course details is something you certainly want to make sure that you are aware of and make sure that your course is compliant with the World Handicapping System. I'm not going to go into the default settings in too much detail, but just know that under your default settings, these settings will apply to any league or event that you create moving forward. So if I am scheduling via foursomes, that is great. If I am calling on GIN to update indexes, and if I am posting those scores to GIN, all of these default settings will push towards a newly created event. So you just want to make sure that most of these are selected how you wish to be portrayed in a new event or league. But again, that's not to say that they can't be edited on an event by event or league by league basis. These are just the default settings that move over into an event that is created. Under your directories and registration, again, won't get into this too much as far as directories of leagues and events. However, we can have a directory of all of the events at your facility. And again, maybe you have a ladies league that has a club championship. It has a match play. It has a member guest. It has a league aspect. We can build out all of these events and we can populate them in a directory to give them an inventory of everything that is going on within that ladies league. Conversely, if there are professionals on the call, maybe you have a number of outings at your facility. We can certainly make a directory of those outings, and we could populate that directory onto your website to try and promote the participation of those particular outings at your facility. So we can certainly use directories in that fashion. Now, within the My Golf Hub, this is basically, again, a landing page where all of your events that you publish to your hub will be seen. And as you can see on the left-hand side, I enter information that gets populated to my hub on the right-hand side, where I'm just giving a description of the facility. What type of viewing do I want to have displayed by default when a golfer accesses that hub page? I can add in sponsor content. I can add in banners. So you can see over on the right-hand side, I've added my Golf Genius banner. I've got my information regarding what the facility entails and what it's all about, my sponsor content, and then possibly a map view, tile view, or list view to see all of the events that are coming up at my facility. So this is built out once, and we embed the particular My Hub page into your website. And then the events that we create, and when we create those Golf Hub pages, are then pushed into this main Club Hub and or pushed to the CGA's website. So just a great way if you are, again, some of you may not have any use for this at all. I've got my 80 golfers. I don't want to promote this to anyone else. We certainly probably wouldn't use Golf Hub, but if you are trying to promote your league or your outings, this is a great way to gain exposure for golfers to see what you have available at your facility. Looks like there is a question in here, Aaron, regarding who does monitor your USGA course rating directory from Kim.
Yep. And so I can take that one. So Kim, good question. So essentially everything is done via the course rating system. So when we do a new course rating and update the ratings on that side, at that point, that's when Golf Genius would need to be updated. Otherwise, it would remain WHS non-certified. So in order to get that red box to a green box, all you do is simply do that update in the course details area.
So really but the question was more like if you're with City of Aurora and they manage their golf courses, and the City of Denver, they manage their.
Oh, yeah. So in that case, yeah. So in that case, the customer managers, usually every professional or the golf staff at the course has access to GIN, and they are the main ones who are supposed to be in charge of kind of making sure everything is up to date. A lot of them are really good about it. There are a couple that need to be reminded, but usually you want to let
at the course, the pro at the course,
the course staff,
or somebody in his staff for staff. Okay.
Yeah, we try to keep it isolated, so not everybody is changing everything, and there's 27 different golf courses that you have to comb through.
Right.
Yeah. So we try as best as we can, but there are some exceptions. We try to cut those down as much as possible.
Okay.
So, but good question there, Kim.
All right. Last thing on customer center, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of this presentation. Appreciate everyone walking through this. Season management, again, we are going to build seasons. That is a list of your inventory that is going on in a calendar year. Obviously, the state of Colorado is very seasonal in the fact that you don't really have overlap where you play from a October to March season like you may in Florida. So normally our seasons are generated via a calendar year. So we would build out seasons, we would build out categories in your customer center. And then once those have been built, you then build out events, populate them into the proper season and proper category. And again, this just gives you a way to view previous inventory if you need to go back and view something that you've done in a previous calendar year within a previous category. Once you have started to use Golf Genius in a functional way, we do have the ability to clone events that have been created in the past. And a good example of that would be a league that you've conducted that the events are the same from year to year. So we can clone over those rounds, we can clone over those tournaments so that you don't have to rebuild those tournaments every year. Normally, the one thing we don't bring over is the player roster due to the fact that that is dynamic and changes from year to year. But that's not to say that you can't clone an event, bring over the player roster, and then edit those players who may have opted out to play in that next year's league or event. So the cloning feature is a great feature. Don't feel like if you clone something that everything is set in stone. We certainly have the ability to change tournaments, change rounds, change player rosters within that cloned event. So a lot of
I
times
need
people
to
like,
read this because I can't see.
if you wouldn't mind muting yourself, if you do see that you don't have your mic muted. We're getting a little feedback from a couple participants. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new event or league. Some of you may be a little bit, I guess, unfamiliar with the terminology in Golf Genius. And all we say in that aspect is you will need to become comfortable with how Golf Genius terminology affects how you set up your events, your leagues. Certainly, when I joined the team, when I was at a green grass facility, I never played an event. We always played a tournament that had formats. But within Golf Genius, their terminology is you play an event and then you set up tournaments within that event. So we'll just need to try and get comfortable with the new terminology, and I'll kind of point out where some of that may differ than from what you have experienced in the past. Obviously, an event is going to be something where everyone in the roster is playing in that round or rounds. Your 1 round outing, your 3 round club championship, your 5 round member guest. That would be considered an event. A league is a accumulation of rounds over an extended period of time where not everyone is going to play in those rounds. I've got a roster of 100 players, and then a subset of those players will participate in each one of those rounds. And in the 102, we'll focus a little bit more on league environments and how we can utilize some of the functionality to make managing your league a little bit easier and automate getting your golfers into a particular round. But for today's purposes, we're going to build out an event. We put it in the proper category. I'll put it in the CGA Women's Golf Summit category for right now, since we were just at the Women's Golf Summit a couple days ago. And then obviously we populate that into the corresponding season. And this will now show us the new UI that we're going to be working in for the remainder of today's session. Once I build out an event or a league, I'm taken away from the customer center. And now I have different tabs that will perform different functions within this particular event. If I need to get back to the customer center, I have a couple different ways that I can do so. So I can work in other events, change some settings that I need to change, things of that nature. But now that we are in this event, we have some different tabs across the top, as well as a dashboard that will get you to different areas of the software. And this is where it kind of gets, quote unquote, confusing as to how the navigation works, because some of you may have never seen this before. It's kind of like if I went to a golf course and tried to check someone in through their POS system, might have a difficult time because I'm not comfortable with the navigation. Once you become comfortable with the navigation and where things are within this platform, certainly becomes more easy to manage. Now, as you can see, we have tabs across the top that have different applications underneath them that we will talk about some, but probably not all of them. Additionally, we have our dashboard that was built, it's probably been about 4 or 5 years now, that also has preliminary information or where to get to specific areas. Meaning, if I want to observe my event roster, I can certainly view that from the dashboard. If I want to view my event roster from the golfers tab, I can certainly do that as well. We have a Golf Hub page that I can create from the dashboard, and I can also create that Golf Hub page from my apps tab. So you will get comfortable with how you navigate the software, whether it be from the dashboard, whether it be from the tabs at the top, or if it's a hybrid of both. Just know that there are multiple areas to get you to the same spot. Under the events, golfers, and calendar tab, we are going to think about those as being global tabs, where those are going to affect the entire event or league. Meaning, if I want to change my event profile, that will change the profile for the entire event. If I want to change my logos, banners, and backgrounds, that will change my logo, banner, and background for the entire duration of that league or event until I were to change those logos, banners, and backgrounds. Your golfers tab is where we are going to build out your player roster. And then from this roster, we can certainly communicate via email or text message if you are on the premium platform. This is where we would import golfers from your master roster. From a spreadsheet, we can manually add golfers. Or if you are on the premium version, we can build out a registration form that golfers can submit to be populated to the roster. Or if we use Golf Hub, we can use that for a registration feature to build out your player roster. But however we build this out, we would need a list of golfers that we would use for a particular event or for a league. I'm just going to quickly bring in some golfers from my master roster. And let's say this is a ladies league that we're building or a ladies event that we're building. We certainly have the ability to filter via a gender if we wish, so that all of my ladies are appearing here by first name. So I could move through and certainly add all of the ladies that were participating in this particular event through a master roster import, where I'm pulling in these ladies. Some have indexes, some do not. But we'll just bring in 12 ladies into this particular event, to where now I have 12 women who are participating in this event that I have brought in by importing from my master roster. Again, if I wanted to add some players, if I wanted to add Maddie, I could certainly add her name in, import input information, email, GIN number, index, other custom fields if I wanted to. So I've added some other players in other forms and fashions. It's not just one way to bring golfers in. We can use multiple ways to get your golfers into the roster. Once we have these golfers in the roster, again, if I want to communicate them, congratulating them to be part of this introductory 101 event, I could certainly communicate with them. 6 players do have an email, 7 do not. So obviously we would not communicate with those 7, but I could certainly update those players' profiles with a particular email if it wasn't available and I wanted to add in a particular email for that particular person in their player profile. We will come back to the golfers tab here in just a moment and focus on a few other features here. But we'll move into the calendar tab, which is one of the easier tabs to work with, in my opinion, because basically all you're doing is adding rounds and viewing the tabular view of the calendar. So if I were to add rounds to an event, and this is a 1-round event, say we're going to play today, that's fine. I can select that from my calendar dashboard. If it's a 3-round event, certainly we can choose to play multiple events. If I'm playing 36 holes on a particular day, I can certainly add in another round on that day. And then those of you who are conducting leagues, we'll get into this next week, but we could certainly check or add recurring rounds so that we play every Tuesday, except for possibly around the 4th of July, depending on where that falls, or any other holidays. We're just selecting the rounds that we are going to manage within this particular event or league. After I have those rounds added, I'm now taken to my tabular view of calendar where maybe I made a mistake and we're not going to play on March 4th. We're going to play on March 5th. And then we can certainly keep the round names within rounds 1 through X, or we can certainly rename that round name if applicable. Certainly have the ability to leave them as they are by default, or give them a specific name based off of the format or the round date or whatever you feel like you need to name that round. So that's most everything underneath the calendar tab that you would utilize at least for event purposes. And then we will get into the tabular view of calendar next in 2 weeks to talk about how we would automate some round signups for a particular league environment. Now, after I have added my rounds, the rounds tab is where a lion's share of the work will be done for either a league or an event, where we will create pairings. We may need to edit our pairings. We're going to build out tournaments. We're going to generate our printed materials. We're going to enter those scores and display that information on the leaderboard. And as you saw in my PowerPoint, that's kind of how I would have gone through it. But that's not to say that, well, you know what? I don't have my pairings created yet, but I know this is going to be a 4-person scramble. I could go ahead and build my tournament before my pairings are created. And again, this may be something to expedite the building out of an event where maybe that tournament gets created before pairings get created. So that's one less thing that you have to do after pairings are created. Same things with printing scorecards. We've got the ability to generate scorecards, edit those scorecards, have them ready to go to the printer after pairings have been created. So this is where we're going to use a lot of the time in building an event within the rounds tab. Moving back to the golfers tab quickly though, there certainly may be a time where you are looking to access GIN to update handicap indexes. Obviously, if it's a net event, we want to generate the playing handicap based off of the index that golfer is going to use the WHS formula and using the rating and slope and the course rating minus par to generate a course handicap, thus possibly generating a playing handicap if any percentages are taken from that course handicap. So you can certainly access GIN to update handicap indexes. We've got different update methods. Am I going to use a current handicap index? Am I using it on a specific date? And we have some ranges to pull in a low handicap index. Notice that all of my golfers who do have a active GIN number are available to be updated. and this shouldn't take too long here to update some of these golfers' indexes. If they are inactive in GIN, you are going to get an incorrect ID. So obviously some of these looks like the Steamboat Springs LGA has deactivated their players for the season. So until they become active again, obviously we will generate a no handicap for them because they are inactive in GIN. Again, that's not to say I couldn't go back into my player's profile and re-update these players' indexes, but this would be a good warning to let Jules and let Carol know that you need to become active in GIN. If not, we're going to have you play at a 0 for this particular event until you activate your GIN profile. So that's how we're going to update indexes. Now, at the Women's Summit, I did present a good use case to where we can automatically update indexes from GIN so that you don't have to remember to do that the day before the league or the morning of the league. Under your handicap settings, we do have the ability to automatically update indexes from GIN. So if I want to update indexes 3 days before each round, that's great. Maybe we play every Saturday, and on Friday, I want GIN to update indexes. A great feature so that you don't accidentally forget to update indexes. Your playing handicaps are wrong, stroke allocations are wrong on the scorecard. Someone comes to you and mentions that, hey, this is not my playing handicap. Well, you're absolutely right because I didn't pull that index update from GIN. So this is a nice feature that we can automatically update indexes from GIN. And while I'm here, we do have another feature where we can automatically post scores to GIN so that at the end of the round, you don't have to remember to go to the rounds tab and post those scores to GIN at 11 p.m. local time based off of your customer settings. We would go ahead and send those scores to GIN on your behalf so that you don't have to remember to perform those two functions. So a couple nice automated functionality here that may be of benefit to your facility so you don't have to remember to perform those two actions on an event by event or a week by week basis within a round scenario. We've got some other analysis tools if you are interested. Again, this would be for multiple rounds. We have some analysis tools. Again, we can communicate via email or text message to our golfers as long as they have a valid email address and or mobile number. I'm going to kind of hold off on Golf Hub just to make sure we get everything covered in our rounds tab in regards to creating pairings, building tournaments, generating scorecards, and executing the tournament along with printed materials. We'll move through a few of those things and then look at the portal. And if we do have time, we'll focus on building out a Golf Hub page. But basically, we have our golfers confirmed. We've got 13 golfers confirmed. I am going to probably omit one golfer because we are going to create foursomes for our scramble tournament. So let's just say one person, yes, they did commit, but they're not going to be able to play. We could certainly remove them from the event roster, or we can just omit them when we begin to create our pairings. Normally, you would probably want to get this to the accurate number of golfers. So let's just say that, Maddie said she was going to play, but then realized, you know what, I've got some conflicting events. So we could certainly say, yep, you know what, Maddie, she's going to, we're going to mark her as not attending. So now we have our player roster that we're going to work with down to 12. Again, you don't have to, but just make sure if we do create pairings in some sort of fashion, Maddie, if she was confirmed, would have been populated into the pairings. We could have removed her after the fact, but this will certainly make pairing creation a little seamless now that we only have 12 players confirmed. So as I come in and create my new pairings, we have a number of different ways that we can create your pairings. We can automatically schedule pairings either randomly. If this was a scramble and we wanted to do some sort of A, B, C, D functionality, we could select that and golfers would be paired in specific orders of optimization based off of your ABCD pairings. If you are randomly creating pairings, we do have a keep together and spread apart function. We were looking at a message to the manager in an event the other day, and someone said, "Hey, I do not want to play with this particular person," or vice versa. I would like to play with this person. We can certainly keep together and spread apart those golfers if necessary, if we're randomly scheduling pairings. Obviously, an ABCD would not work with the keep together and spread apart because we can't keep together two A players because of the fact that that doesn't follow the algorithm of the ABCD functionality. Uh, Pairings by custom field, for those of you who may use custom fields in a spreadsheet upload or with registration, we can use the team ID custom field to keep players in the same pairing group together. We can certainly discuss that towards the end if that is an option, and we can show you how that can be useful. Manually creating pairings, this is just where you are going to create your pairings based off of either the manager's idea of how pairings are created or how players tell you how you're going to create those pairings. And then within a multi-round tournament, your club championships, we compare by previous results so that those players with the lower scores would be paired together on up to those players with the higher score. And then we can segregate by flight or division if we have those set up within your event so that the men's division will play with one another, the ladies division will play with one another, the senior division will play with one another, and we pair based off of those previous results. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do some random pairings. Once we get moved into the next page, again, not much on this page other than if I need to go back and recreate my pairings, I can do so. We have some scheduling options here that I won't go into, but you can certainly read up on those to make sure that your scheduling options are built out appropriately. And then once we move into this next page, my pairings are now going to be created. I've said, yes, I want to create 4 foursomes. I want to create 3 foursomes randomly. So based off the fact that I did remove one player from my player roster, I now have my pairing size as all foursomes, where they can now be assigned a specific tee time, shotgun, or course, and or I can move players around if I need to move them into different pairing positions. Add blinds to the left deals with your players. Swap holes to the right deals with the course and tee being built and specified with a tee time or shotgun scenario. So if for some reason, let's say Eileen needed to switch with Ivy, great. I could click on, and it's not really a drag and drop. It's more of a click operation. It still kind of works with the same as drag and drop. You're still just clicking in on particular fields within your pairing group. If I need to move my entire pairing group, these players need to go off first for some reason. I have the ability to swap players, pairs, move pairings around. Maybe I need to add some players. I could certainly add a new row if Maddie's decided, you know what, I am going to play, and we had some other players that could play with her. Obviously, I could come in and add in those players into this new row. Conversely, if I needed to remove a player, Kathy said that she couldn't make it. Great, last minute change. I could remove Kathy. And then I could add in Maddie. She decided that, hey, my appointment got canceled. Do you have a spot for me? Yep, we did have a cancellation, and I'm going to move you into this pairing group. So we're just building out the foursomes like you normally would with any golf shop operation of building out a pairing group. Setting your course and tee along with tee time and shotgun is done over here on the right side, where yes, we do need to set a course and tee. We need your players to play from a specific area on the golf course. Now, if we have data fields that are designated in a player profile, maybe I want to have all of my women assigned to a specific tee. Now, notice, why is Maddie not highlighted? Because I did not, in her profile, I did not designate her as a female golfer. That's not to say that I couldn't check her name and then add her in to that particular operation, but we can certainly select by gender. If it's a mixed event, you can assign your women golfers to their particular tee, your men golfers to their particular tee. Same thing if I have flights or divisions, I can choose those different divisions and we would highlight the respective persons to assign them to that particular tee based off of the data field that was chosen. So let's just go here. I'm going to just do this for ease of use. I'm going to do pairing groups 1 of 4. We're going to apply them to the Black Horse White men's tee. We can certainly choose all, back, or front for the courses or the amount of holes that they're going to play. And then this one right here, just because I knew I assigned 1 and 4 positions, I'll assign 2 and 3. We'll assign them to the Black Horse Red ladies tee. And we apply those changes. It looks like I missed Maddie. And the reason I can tell is it says course and tee is incomplete. So now that I have assigned all of my players to a tee, we do have the designation over here. However, you do have to hover over each one of these players to see which tee we have assigned them to. We do have some, hopefully, maybe in the future, we could color code these players with the tee that they're playing so that maybe this would be in white, these would be in red, but right now you would have to hover over these players to determine the tee that they have been assigned. Setting the tee time in the shotgun, certainly a shotgun is easy enough to where we would begin our functionality. It looks like I had some designations in my assignments. On my course details is to assign which tees to assign first. So I went 8, 9, 16, and 18. But if I'm going to change this up, and let me restore my default. If I wanted to change this and be like, you know what, we are going to assign all of my pairing groups to holes 1 through 4, and we are not going to recognize the holes to double up first, which was built out in my course details. You can see that my foursome count is now 4 of 4, and I've got all of my golfers teeing off on holes 1 through 4, 8 a.m. in the morning, teeing off on hole number 1. I applied those changes. Actually, this will go away once I save my course and tee because we did not need this extra hole assignment. So if I save this, this will go away and we'll only assign this to holes 1 through 3. Conversely, if I'm building out tee times, I can do the same thing. We've got a 12 p.m. shotgun, or excuse me, 12 p.m. tee times. We're going to go 10-minute intervals. I apply those changes, and now I have a 12, 12:10, and 12:20 tee time. So we're basically building out this pairing sheet so that we can use this for printed material, communication via email or text message, letting golfers know what their tee time is, who they're playing with, their starting hole, possibly the GGID. If those of you are on premium to utilize live mobile scoring, golfers will need a GGID to enter into the mobile device to start to utilize live mobile scoring within the premium application. If for some reason I need to go back and create new pairings, I certainly could. That would build all of my pairings from scratch again. But maybe I just need to edit those pairings. I would come into my edit existing pairings tool, move some players around that needed to be pushed into different positions, or maybe the tee times get moved up or back. Starting holes get changed around. I would edit those in my edit pairings page. Moving on to the tournaments that we are going to build. We are now in my tournament UI where I can add a new tournament. And we can have as many tournaments as long as they are compatible in a round. I could have a gross scramble. I could have a net scramble. I could have a gross skins game, a net skins game. However, I could not conduct a scramble and a better ball of partners in the same round. just because they are not compatible. How can I play my own ball while I'm also playing a scramble? So keep that in mind that, and even if you have groups that you're outing where some groups are playing a scramble and some are playing a best ball, we would need 2 different rounds because those are quote unquote incompatible in how Golf Genius looks at a tournament build based off of the pairing groups. So if I wanted to build a scramble, I want to do a gross scramble, I can certainly name it whatever I want in the tournament name. And we're going to build top down, left to right, where yes, I've given it my name. Now the format, yes, it's a stroke play format, but I could certainly play a scramble Stableford. We've got skins, other opportunities, eagles, birdies, deuces, match play formats. You want to choose the proper format. The competition is going to be, again, these are different terms, right? A competition, you would think, oh, the competition is a stroke play. Well, actually, the format is stroke play, and the competition is the players that are competing against one another. So the competition in this scenario would be a foursome versus a field competition. The balls option is actually fairly straightforward. We're going to choose the balls that we're going to use. Are we creating a scramble? Yes. Do we want to modify it and do it at better 2 balls on each hole? Cha-cha-cha, Lone Ranger, a lot of formats that you're familiar with in league play are available here. And then if you don't see your option under the balls, the advanced option can certainly get you there, where you give rules to what will be counted on a specific hole. 9-9 is an available option where you're going to play maybe a 4-person scramble on the front, and then you're going to play 2 better balls of 4 on the back. That would be the 9-9 option, 6-6-6, and 3-3-3 as well. So there's very few tournaments that we can't score. You just have to make sure that you choose the appropriate balls option. The holes, are we playing 18 holes, front 9, back 9? There may be a scenario where you have half the group on the front and half on the back. You may do a 9 holes front or back, or if it's a 9-hole league and you're not sure whether you're going to play the front or back that particular week, you would just choose the front or back option, and whichever holes we score, front or back, we would generate a leaderboard based off of those holes entered. Are we going to handicap it? Maybe yes, maybe no. Obviously, within a scramble, we've got a USGA recommendation of 25, 20, 15, and 10, handicapping the A, B, C, and D player. But obviously, if you do something a little bit different at your facility, you could certainly choose percent of individual handicaps, percent of total handicaps, lots of options for handicapping. If for some reason we wanted to drop some holes, we certainly could within this format. And then tie breaking, number of different tiebreakers. The ones we see used most often are the USGA last 9, 6, 3, and 1, or the most to least difficult hole. That's what we see utilized most often, but that's not to say that you can't retain ties or use a different tiebreaker. If you have a specified payout and you know what that payout is ahead of time, you can certainly put that purse in at any point in time, and we would generate a purse result and or points result after the round has been completed. So we do have that payout option. Additionally, some of you may do an event where you have a gross and net finish position, but you can't double dip. This is when we could build out a gross net bias. And if a particular team or individual finished first place gross and first place net, if we use the gross net bias, they would get first place gross. We would omit them from the net finish position, and then we would give that next player the first place net finish position. So that's where a bias is concerned, where a team or person can't quote unquote double dip into both of those tournaments. If they can double dip, we would build out a gross scramble tournament, a net scramble tournament, and then if our team were to win both, great, we would certainly be paid out in both. That is just determinant on how you have your format set up and your rules of scoring are set up within an event or within a league. We've got some options here as far as applying maximum scores, within The USGA, they have set some events where you can pick up after a net double bogey has been reached. Again, we do have some maximum score options here that you could certainly play with if you chose to do so. We have some handicapping options to where if you are limiting a particular player to a certain maximum playing handicap, that could be added in your advanced options. For those of you who may be conducting some sort of match play format with two-person teams, we can apply a differential into the advanced option so that golfers are brought down within a specific range of their playing handicap. We can add cut lines. There are some display options as to what is displayed on the TV display and when those are displayed. So certainly we have some advanced options that you can take a look at on your own time. And then within a league environment, we can save these tournaments to a tournament library. So if I have a 4-person scramble that I'm going to play on down the line in a league environment, I could certainly save that to my tournament library and then pull in that tournament at a future round date so I don't have to build out the tournament again. Again, it's just a time saver if you are auto including it into future rounds, saving it so that you can bring it back and use it at a future point in time. So you can see I built a 4-person net scramble. So this is certainly now incorrect. I've named it gross, but I've given it a handicap option. So I would come back and do one of two things. I would either reapply my handicap option to gross, or you know what, I made a mistake in naming this gross. We are going to build out a net scramble format. Now this will be a little bit odd because some of my players came back as no handicap, so they're going to be marked as 0. But you'll certainly get the point when we look at the handicap analysis as to how we generate a playing handicap for this scramble tournament. Again, I could have as many tournaments as long as they were compatible. I could do a gross skins game if I wanted to, a net skins game, gross scramble. I would add those into my new tournaments, and based off of the scores that are entered on the enter scores page would generate those results based off of the parameters of that tournament. Now you may have some other tournaments that can't be scored with a actual score, and those are your closest to the pins, your longest putts, your longest drives. You know, we're going to build all of these user scored tournaments, and these are entered in by the manager. So once this placard comes in off of the golf course, the manager would be responsible for entering in those proximity results. And we can put details as to how far that player was from the pin and if there is a purse or points associated with it. And we can also put details letting your participants know how far that particular person was from the pin on that particular hole. So those are user scored tournaments that can be added to a round as well. Moving down the line, obviously we're pretty close to beginning to conduct this event. If I want to print scorecards, we can certainly do so from our scorecard composer. We do have a legacy scorecard template, but notice that September 1st, this will be going away. It's been around for about, I don't know, since the existence of the program, but it is certainly becoming outdated with the scorecard composer. So those of you who are in this webinar and have used legacy scorecards before, just notice that those will be deactivated on September 1st of this year. So within the scorecard composer, yes, you can create a new scorecard from scratch, but certainly will take some time to build that out. So what we have done is we have scorecards published by the community. Both Golf Genius employees have built this out, as well as other facilities around the country. You can see the Golf Association of Philadelphia created a scramble scorecard, one team line scorecard. So you can certainly use that. In your scorecards published by the community, the only option you have is to print those cards. However, if you want to edit this scorecard in any form or fashion, you would just move this into your scorecard category. And now that you can see that I have a 4-player scorecard, we can do let's just do a Lone Ranger card. So my Lone Ranger card was something that I brought in from the community and made my own edits to. And you can see when we build this scorecard, we now have, again, some tabs across the top that we will have to utilize to edit this scorecard. Obviously, my pairing groups, who am I printing these scorecards for? What tournament am I using to utilize stroke allocations? And as I move through the tabs across the top, am I formatting the card to an 18-hole card? Is it just a 9-hole card? How many scorecards per page am I printing? Who am I showing on the cards? The number of players on the card that I may be utilizing. My handicap stroking, am I going to show dots on the card? Am I going to show playing handicap on the card? Maybe yes, maybe no. Additional teas and info. Am I going to add additional scorecard rows to this particular scorecard? Am I going to show the starting hole if it's a shotgun? Am I going to include initials on the folded perforated piece of the scorecard? And am I going to show the courses used in the pairing group? And notice on the preview here, and all of these will have preview of red and white. But if for some reason I had all of my pairing players in this pairing group playing one tee, we would obviously omit the tee that is not applicable to this pairing group. But since I had players on the white and the red tee, we're going to show all of that information on each one of the scorecards. I can change fonts and colors if I want to. I can make the font larger, change the color of the players, change the size of these data fields, which that's what I've done here within this Lone Ranger operation. I have highlighted the holes that would need to be counted by that Lone Ranger golfer. Granted, we're playing a scramble, so not really applicable, but if we had set up a Lone Ranger, you would know that Ivy needed to complete her hole on number 1, Carol on number 2, Carrie on number 3, so on and so forth. And then we could certainly take the best ball of these other 3 and possibly populate a score onto that additional scoring line. Now you notice I've got some overlap here with my logos. So we would probably want to change some of this information, move some of these logos around so that they don't cover up the canvas of that particular scorecard, which is found under the header and footer tab, where we can add text, which are just data fields. Obviously, this is player 1 hole. This is player 1 tee time. These are data fields that we have pulled in and populated into this scorecard. I've added some logos. I can bring in photos from Golf Genius. I can bring in photos from my desktop, send logos to the front or back of this scorecard. You can see I've got a watermark image of the Denver Country Club here on the back of this scorecard. And again, I've got my primary and secondary logo appearing. So this is all just customization of a scorecard. Again, you don't have to do any of this at all. You can find a scorecard. That's what I want to use. I want to print it, and I want my golfers to insert their scores onto this particular scorecard. Great. But if you want to add in anything into this scorecard, possibly move this around so that these logos don't overlap on your scoring line, I'm just moving these around, refreshing that preview, and obviously now my logos would appear at the top of the page, hence giving me more real estate at the bottom where I have my scoring rack available for the results of my Lone Ranger plus better ball. So the scorecard composer, again, very robust, can be time consuming to navigate initially. But again, we do have a scorecard composer webinar that you could certainly view to gain some more knowledge as to how to navigate the scorecard composer aspect. So if I was ready to print, I would save those, send them to the printer, and then submit them to my players upon arrival at the golf course. Within the report center, there may be other information that you do need to submit to your golfers: cart signs, alpha lists, tee sheets. Under our basic reports, we do have a lot of just those basic reports. Here's a basic cart sign. Not much to it, but at least it has the players' names, the tee, the hole, the starting date, and the starting time. We've got alpha lists, tee sheets, proximity markers that we could build and print those and put those on the placards, send those out on the golf course. Regular tee sheets available, just a lot of basic scorecards and cart signs, other reports that you could just print from our basic reports, which is where you may go when you're first starting to utilize the program. However, if we look at this cart sign, pretty generic, you may want something a little bit more attractive for your players or your members. Now, again, we could build a brand new document and build this cart sign from scratch. But what we have done is we've allowed other facilities across the country and across the world to submit a report that can be used by other users of the platform. And that is within my community reports. I now have 1,300 reports that I could choose from. Well, that's an awful lot to try and find a cart sign scrolling through 1,300 reports, which gives you the ability to filter through formats, category, tournament type, data, those scenarios. But if I hover over my category, I can now drill down to 89 cart signs. Okay, not nearly as many now, a lot less to filter through. And now I can look through all of these cart signs to determine if there's one that I would like to use and populate into my account. Now, if you see one that you like, again, you could directly print that particular scorecard that cart sign if you would like. Or if you want to bring that back over into your report center, and you could certainly put it in any one of these categories, or you could build a cart sign category as well. But after those are populated into your report center, you now have full flexibility to edit that particular cart sign. So let's say I did bring a cart sign over, I think I have a few in my report center already that I have edited. I brought that cart sign over. This is what it looks like that got brought over from the community center. But again, if I wanted to change anything regarding the font, the size, the color of this cart sign, I could certainly go into that cart sign, make the appropriate edits, save that cart sign, and now it's mine that I could use for future events and leagues. So the community reports area is a great way to try and find something that someone else has done. So you're not building it by scratch, and then make the appropriate edits to that particular cart sign or report to then present to your players. We're getting close. We're almost ready to get golfers out on the golf course, but a golfer has come to you and asked why my team handicap is what it is. The handicap analysis is going to be a great way for you to let your players know why their playing handicap is what it is. So if I move to the handicap analysis, and Ivy and Carol and Carrie and Barb come to me being like, hey, why is my playing handicap a 3 for this particular event? We can open up the handicap analysis for those players. And you can see that these 3 players didn't have a handicap because they got brought down to an NH when we did the handicap index update. So we're actually only looking at one player and generating a scramble handicap. But if I were to go back and put in indexes for these players, we would have an A, B, C, D, and CD calculation. And you can see here the WHS slope divided by 113, index times slope divided by 113, less course rating minus par would give you the resulting course handicap. And I know the CGA, they gave out a nice booklet with some rules of handicapping that may have been in there. I didn't have a chance to look through it. But certainly Aaron or Maddie could certainly give you a nice tutorial on how course handicaps and playing handicaps are generated through the WHS system. They could probably recite that in their sleep. So if you do have any questions regarding WHS, Golf Genius will certainly do the math for you via the equation, or if you'd like some more in-depth detail, certainly reach out to those two for their expertise on WHS and handicapping. But the handicap analysis, a great area to go to explain to your golfers why they're playing handicap is the way it is. We've gone through all our scenarios. We get our golfers out on the golf course. Now we're ready to score this event. For those of you on premium, we do have the ability to utilize live mobile scoring, where your golfers would download the Golf Genius app, enter in the GGID associated with their pairing group, and begin to enter in scores on the golf course in real time. Those results can be viewed in real time. A great feature if you are on the premium application. And sometimes we hear that, oh, my golfers aren't that tech savvy. They're not good with mobile devices. If you know your alphabets and 1 through 9 of your numerical keyboard, you can certainly enter in a GGID and begin to enter live mobile scoring. You basically download the Golf Genius app, enter in the GGID, and enter in scores from a keypad. So we try not to, prohibit golfers from saying that, hey, I'm not very good with a mobile device, and I'm not going to utilize live mobile scoring. We just feel that is not an applicable excuse anymore in today's age with how easy it is to use mobile devices. If you don't have a mobile device, or if you're not on TM Premium, that manager at the end of the round is going to come in and enter in the scores for all of the players. This one being a scramble, obviously we're entering in only one hole per pairing group. But if it was an individual stroke play event, obviously we would need to enter in scores for all 4 players. A great option for you to test things before they actually are sent out onto the golf course is to enter in random scores for your players. So I've entered in some random scores to see if this is going to score correctly. There's nothing worse than when you get to the end of an event and the scores aren't generated how you wish. Maybe I set it up to a gross scramble and it needed to be a net scramble. Maybe I didn't utilize the proper percentages for my 4 players. This is going to be a great way for you to be able to see beforehand if your tournament is set up correctly. So I've entered in random scores for my players. Oh, we had 2 players tie at a plus 10. Well, it looks like the tiebreaker was utilized to where now, if we looked at the last, I think I used most the least difficult hole is actually what I believe I chose. So I would come here and you could see that this group had a net 3 on the hardest handicap hole. We could look at this particular group, and on the hardest handicap hole, they had a net 5. So obviously we have done the tie breaking correctly by using the tie breaking of most to least difficult hole. The closest to the pins that would have come in, we would then bring those placards in, and then the manager would enter in those results based off of who had the closest to the pin. Now, obviously, we wouldn't want to show all of these players on the closest to the pin. And for some extra credit and for some brownie points, we're going to give Maddie the closest to the pin, where she's going to get a $50 purse, and she knocked it to 3 feet. Now, after we save this and are done adjusting, as opposed to showing all of these golfers on our leaderboard, which is not necessary, we're now just going to show those players who had information populated into their profile. I would do the same thing for the long drive. Placard comes off the golf course, enter in those results for those particular players. Now, how do we get this information out to our golfers? This is great. This is on the manager side. Okay, great. I'm a manager. I'm seeing this, but how are my players going to see this? We have a number of different options on how we push this out to your players. If using the live mobile scoring on TM Premium, your golfers can view the real results in real time via their mobile app. Additionally, we can populate the information onto a TV display, which we recommend an Amazon Fire Stick to be plugged in the back of a smart TV. You download the Golf Genius app and then enter in the round GGID, which is found in the round profile. And then if we are using live mobile scoring in real time, we would see these results where golfers are on the golf course based off of the scores that they are entering in. For those of you on TM Club, we would show this after the fact, and we would show the results of those players and those different tournaments that we had set up. You can see we have some different sizes. If we need to increase the font size, we can certainly do so. Increase or decrease the scroll rate. We can customize our header. We can add other imagery to this particular leaderboard page if we need to by managing different pages. But a great way to display information to your players after they come off the golf course and are in the clubhouse. Additionally, we can print a leaderboard to a PDF. We can paste that up on the men's or ladies' locker room if need be, or that PDF can be sent as an attachment via an email to your players with a valid email address. Lastly, if rounds have been pushed to the portal, either via pairings and or results to the portal, we can give your golfers ability to view the portal on their own time via a browser on their phone, on their iPad, desktop, or laptop. So as you can see, this was my default portal that was built. I could certainly have changed this if I had wanted to. But in my results, I can certainly move into my results tab to then view my results from my Wednesday, March 5th scramble. So your golfers aren't asking you, hey, did I win a skin? Did I get the closest to the pin? Did I finish first? Hopefully we can start to push your golfers to the portal to answer some of these questions that, yes, they're important, but if we can give them this information via the portal, they're not calling you up at 8 o'clock at night asking you, hey, how much money did I win in the scramble tournament? We can start to push them to the portal so they can view this information 24/7. Additionally, we'll have a player purse summary. As you can see, Maddie did a good job this week and actually won some money in the scramble event along with her closest to the pin, and we have the purse summary for all of your players. Additionally, within the portal, we can add event standings. So if we are conducting a league, we can have a money list or a points list that accumulates over those rounds. We can add analytics. Those of you who are on the premium platform, we can add PDFs. We can add text pages. We can have collage pages with text and photos of a particular person who may have gotten a hole-in-one. We can highlight that information on the portal. Again, a member-facing portal that can hopefully give the information that you need to get out to your players in a timely fashion so they're not trying to track down this information by contacting you via phone or email. Now, on this portal, how do we get this portal out to your golfers? We have a number of different ways that we can do that. Within your dashboard, down here at the bottom, we could embed this GGID link into your website. We could send it out to your golfers via an email and have them bookmark that particular URL link to access the portal. We could have them just enter in the GGID when they go to golfgenius.com and enter in a GGID. Now, again, a little bit more difficult to decipher YP8DRM every time, but I could certainly change this if it's available, which it looks like I've probably used this before. So I could do CGA 101 2025. I could go to golfgenius.com, enter in that GGID, and then it would send me to the portal. Now, the last thing that we can do, don't focus in on too much on this if we kind of get some stuff lost in translation, but you can have your golfers access the portal who have a valid email address via an email and password. So if I wanted to register my golfers to use the event portal, I could certainly do so. And those golfers with a valid email address would create a password associated with their email. They would go to golfgenius.com, enter in their email, enter in their password, and then they would be pushed to the portal in that fashion as well. So a lot of different ways that we can get this information out to your golfers. They just either need to have the URL, they need to know the GGID, or they need to have a login via an email and password to access these portals. And then there may be multiple events that we give them access to. Your ladies league, your couples league, your ladies match play, anything that we want to give them access to, either via email or password, or distinct unique URLs and or GGIDs, are a way that we're going to push these golfers to the portal. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes on Golf Hub real quick. Looks like we only lost one participant so far, so that kind of makes me happy there. Most everyone else has stuck around, so I appreciate everyone's attention. Obviously, a lot going on with the navigation, but hopefully you can see through these tabs, through the navigation, is how we're going to manage each one of these rounds. And if I had multiple rounds, this in the drop down would show my next round. So on March 12th, the 5th has passed. I'm now going to work on my March 12th round. That's where, again, most of the work is done in the rounds tab, selecting the appropriate round that you are going to work in. But back to Golf Hub real quick. If I wanted to create a Golf Hub page, either for exposure or for registration, I would come in my apps tab within this event. I would populate information in my description. I could add schedules, sponsors, banners, anything that I wanted to portray to my golfers regarding this particular event. And that information populates over here on the right-hand side. If I were to save and publish this, I can now move back to my Golf Hub page, where I can now add registration if I wanted to. And I think because that kind of signed me out. But if I wanted to add in a registration, this is where I could specify, is it a 1 of 1 registration? Is it a 4 of 4? Am I going to add payments to this particular registration option? This is where we build that out. And as that is published, I'm at least going to publish this so that you could see. If I go ahead and publish this, I think it logged me out, is what I think it did. Let's see if I can get back to my customer center. Okay, looks like I'm okay. So now that I have added that event and published it to my Golf Hub, now that I have this event published into my Golf Hub, it would publish to the CGA, it would publish to my event, and you could see that, yes, I have, and I did do it down here at the Fazio course when we were down in Dallas for the IAGA. But if I had this into a facility in the state of Colorado or in the state of Wyoming, on the map view, it would be seen within my state. But now you can see that I have my CGA Introductory 101 hub page that has been published that I could now view. And if registration was open, I could now register for this event. So again, we have a nice Golf Hub webinar that is available, or if we want to spend a little bit more time in some Q&A, be happy to do so. But again, Golf Hub, just a good way to build events, publish those events so that they are recognizable, and for exposure for either registration, call the golf shop to sign up, a number of different ways that we can utilize Golf Hub to build out your rosters for your events and your leagues. So I'll just go back to this main page here. We'll kind of get back to just my regular event. Let me get back to my CGA event that I had built. And if there are not any questions that I can answer, certainly looks like one came through the chat, or if you would like to take yourself off of mute, we can certainly have a 20-minute discussion if we need to, or if we don't use the entire 20 minutes, we'll give you a little portion of your day back.
Oh, yep. So Justin, it looks like we do have one via the chat. When will the recording of this webinar be available? Well, so the recording will be hopefully by the end of the week. if not early next week. Actually, right now we did do a similar uh, training last year that you can see that has very similar stuff that we went through today. So if that one isn't if it isn't on the website soon enough for you, you can watch one from last year as we speak. Good question.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
This is Nancy Reed. Is there training next week also?
No. So next week would be handicapping 101 with myself and Maddie. The next Golf Genius training will be the following week. It'll be Tuesday, March 18th, same time, same place.
Yep. And that one we will be going over a little bit. We'll dive a little bit more into league scenarios because that's what we're finding out a lot of managers are interested in, where we will go over round signups, possibly building out some multi-round tournaments. We will look a little bit more in depth at building divisions, flights, and teams. So it's just an extended version of what we've gone over today. Today was, very simplistic, one round, non-flighted event. On that next Tuesday's webinar, or excuse me, the webinar on the 18th, we'll get a little bit more into a league scenario and how those operate within the platform.
Yes. Good question, Nancy. Anybody else? As you guys can see, this is a very powerful software. So we want to ease you into it versus throwing you into the deep end. So hopefully this is what we do over these 3 sessions here, especially if you've never used the software before. All right. Any questions? 11:42. Now's your chance. The floor is yours if you would like.
And before we give anyone else a chance to think about if they want to ask a question, again, back to the help tab. I mentioned a few things that you can try and do on your own. Again, it's like anything. I relate it to taking a golf lesson. If I go to Aaron and take my first golf lesson, he's going to show me the grip. He's going to show me the stance. He's going to show me the aim. And then we're going to kind of start to work on maybe a 7-iron, taking it halfway back. Now, if I come back to him in 2 weeks and I haven't done any practice, he's going to be telling me the same thing. Well, did you practice? Nope. Well, let's work on your grip, your aim, your stance, and the initial piece of the swing. 3 weeks later, haven't practiced again. It's just a repetitive process where I'm not getting any better and he's not able to tell me anything different because I haven't done the work. Same thing within Golf Genius. It is a little bit of self-help on your own to get in here, build some tests, read some knowledge-based articles, look at some videos and be like, hey, you know what, Aaron, I did practice. I'm doing pretty good. I can get the ball airborne. And then we can focus on the next step of maybe putting a hinge into the backswing or working on the follow through. Same thing here within our knowledge base. If you were to type in webinars, the pre-recorded webinars, if I spell it correctly, will give me a laundry list of webinars to attend. Golf Hub webinar, great. We didn't spend a lot of time on Golf Hub, but if you feel like that's something you'd like to learn more about, great. Let's go into the Golf Hub webinar. League management training. Well, I know we're going to take the 102 next week and it's going to be on leagues. And let me maybe watch this webinar so that I have an idea of what I can expect for the next training session. Same thing. Hey, I'm going to do a Ryder Cup. We didn't talk about the Ryder Cup. Well, we have a Ryder Cup training webinar that you could certainly view at any point in time to give yourself the knowledge as to how to build out that particular Ryder Cup. Same thing with articles. Well, he talked about pairings a little bit, but I kind of spaced out when he was talking about that. But I'd like to learn a little bit more about pairings. Okay, great. Here is an article on creating new pairings. A ton of articles regarding pairings, A/B pairings, pairing by previous results. Yeah, he talked about that, but we didn't go into that in detail. So certainly a lot of information within the knowledge base that you can utilize to kind of train yourself before we go into the next session or before you get into the operations for your league season. Now, you might not find everything in here, right? Be like, I read about pairings and I read about Golf Hub, but I still have some questions. Okay, that's when we give you the ability to contact us, where we can have a more detailed discussion with our support reps regarding a scenario that you're being faced with. So I can't stress enough using the help tab, knowledge base, webinars, live training, and then certainly the contact us feature when you get to a spot where you get held up and you can't move forward. So hopefully we're giving you the tools to become successful, just like a golf professional would give you the tools to become professional, successful out on the golf course. So got 2 more minutes out of that, or 3 minutes out of that. So we've got a quarter till. Certainly